July 6, episode 66.
It's time once again to slip into your camo, grab your gun, and join us out in the field for another episode of the Up North Journal with your host, Mike Adams, and his son, the other Mike Adams. They're locked, loaded, and ready for another exciting episode. So let's step outside and hit the trail.
Hey, we survived the 4th of July weekend. We didn't blow off any fingers, and we got all of our fingers and toes, and we had a pretty good time. So welcome back to another episode of the Up North Journal. I'd like to remind everybody we are part of the Outdoor Radio Network, and you can also find us over at MichiganHuntingToday.com. And you can find the Up North Journal over there. You can play it live. Not live, we're recorded, but you can play it on your computer there.
That'd be cool if you could play it live.
Yeah, it would be if we could talk to you guys live. That'd be pretty awesome.
Be lots of edit points.
Yeah, well,
couldn't edit them actually.
Well, one day we might. You never can tell. But we're over there, and we're also at myhuntingandfishing.com. You can check it out over there. It's a pretty neat little interactive site that we've hooked up with some guys over there. And any of you guys who have joined us from myoutdoortv.com, we'd like to welcome you guys. And you can slide on over to our regular website, upnorthjournal.com, and you can subscribe to the show there by clicking on the player, and it'll take you to our regular site. Or you can go to iTunes, actually, and subscribe to the show there. So slide on over, get yourself a subscription, and hang out with us. So, well, you survived 4th of July, Michael.
Yeah.
What's up with that, man? Did you have a good time?
Yeah. We didn't have any bottle rockets or anything, which kind of made me mad.
Well, we can't have those here in Michigan. They're illegal. We can't get the fun stuff. So.
Yeah.
But we did the firework deal. We went down to our little hometown here and watched those on, was it Friday night?
Yeah.
Hung out with the family. Had some family in town. Got to enjoy that. And we got more to talk about on that here a little while later.
$15 on like a few of them little fountain things.
Yeah, Mom wanted to go waste some money, I guess. So the little kids enjoyed it, I guess. I don't know. I wasn't here when you guys lit those off Saturday night. I actually had to work. I was at the big fireworks up in Bay City. I
don't know. Me and Jason are, what would he be, like my third uncle or something?
That was Mom's cousin's husband. So I don't know. It's a shoestring relative by marriage. I don't know exactly how that works.
And we bought some fireworks. We bought 3 big ones. Probably almost a foot tall.
Okay.
And about 4 inches wide. And they lasted for, like, the record was like 37 seconds, I think.
Oh, big long time, huh?
Yeah. And at the end, they had, like, a whole bunch of fire stuff.
Yeah.
One of them caught on fire and, like, blew up.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Got to see something explode.
Yeah.
Oh, I had to go up to Bay City Saturday night. They had their big 4th of July festival up there. They do a 3-night show. It's 3 days long, a big festival up there. And it's over the water there on the river and stuff. And that's always one of the biggest ones in the state. And if you guys have been listening to the Up North Journal podcast here for any length of time, know that I work for a local television station here. And every year we go up there and we televise the fireworks live. And so last night I had to leave family, run up there and put the show on up there. So that was I didn't get home till almost 2 o'clock in the morning. It was a long, late night.
I don't know. I fell asleep at like 1 o'clock.
Yeah. But it was a good show up there, man. People had a real good time. A lot of people. Had 2 big recording country artists up there.
Yeah, I wish I would have been there to see that.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. Got to see some guys kick back and play a few guitar licks. That was pretty cool.
So there was a bunch of rednecks or something?
Yeah, there was some country bumpkins there, man. It was looking a little red around there. I can't say nothing. I'm from the South, so my neck gets a little red every now and then too. But yeah, it was a good time. But well, enough about the 4th of July stuff. I mean, I like to talk about fireworks and all that. That's all cool. And
explosions and fire.
It's the country's birthday and our freedoms and all that stuff. But we're here about the outdoors. So let's get into this thing this week. We took a little different tangent this week. We had some family in town, like we'd said, and they were from Indiana. Actually, they had 4 boys. And they, what were the range of the ages, like from 5 or 6 up to 12 or 13?
5, 7, 9, and 11.
Yeah, okay. So, typical boys like to get out, hang out, do stuff outside, so they want to do some fishing. And we got everything together, and the first day they were here, we took off and headed over to our little local mill pond there on the river, and we did a little bit of pan fishing. And you actually got your fly rod out for the very first time.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. I caught about 7 or 10 panfish on them.
Yeah, how'd that go?
It went good. There was like this little, it was like, I can't remember what it's called. It's like a little caddis thing.
Mm-hmm.
It has like a bead head on it. It has a green body, a little fluffy tail, and
That's one you tied.
yeah, some hackle around behind the head.
Uh-huh.
So it looks like legs and stuff, and they just tore that thing up.
Yeah.
Even them like little like 2-inch or 3-inch little panfish, they were just nailing it like crazy.
Yeah.
They're scared of it at first, though.
Yeah. Did you catch anything of any size? 'Cause I was hanging on the other side over there, on the other side of the dam.
I caught a
with kids.
few. The biggest one I caught was probably maybe 4 or 5 inches long.
Okay. So you didn't get into any big ones that put
there
up
was
a fight?
a nice big wide one, though, I caught.
Yeah. Put up a little good fight on that rod?
Yeah, that bends the rod over.
Yeah.
There was some carp I was trying to catch.
Yeah. I've seen them swimming around.
Yeah.
And Jake, he found one dead panfish. It wound up being bait. It was about 2-3 inches long. He's like, give me that. I'm putting that on. I'm like, you're not going to catch anything with that. He put it on. He flung it out there, and it was just over the edge of had a little deck that hung out over the water. And all the panfish, they're biting there. The kids are feeding them worms, more or less. But he put that out there, and it was on a bobber. And this big bass swam up right next to it and nosed it and then turned around and swam off. It was definitely a keeper. I mean, it was, 16, 18-inch bass. It was a nice-sized fish.
Jacob was going crazy. I'm like, well, there goes that fish.
Yeah.
Whenever he sees a big fish, he starts yelling and screaming, and he scares him off.
Yeah. It was a nice-sized bass. It was pretty cool seeing it swim up like that,
I never
close to
actually got
top.
to see it.
But, and then the carp were out there, and there's a bunch of ducks. Ducks were all over the place.
Yeah.
And the youngest boy was throwing bread, trying to feed ducks
Yeah,
and
they
stuff.
wouldn't feed the ducks, but he ended up feeding the fish.
The bread?
Yeah, he would throw out a little piece of bread, and the fish would just, there would be probably at least 50 fish, and they just all swarm at it.
Yeah.
And then Jacob put some on his hook, and he was just pulling them right out.
It was a good time. Kids had fun, typical taking kids to the river fishing, picking out panfish. But then, we talked about it on the way home. It's like, I talked to Jason, my wife's cousin's husband. I said, if you guys really want to do some serious fishing,
Oh, man.
I said, we'll get after it tomorrow morning, And he kind of looked at me and I said, if you want to do some serious fishing, I said, we'll hook up and we'll take the boys to the river and do some catfishing. I said, but we're only going to take the oldest ones, we're not going to catch a little panfish on bread. And he's like, yeah, that sounds like fun, And of course, you got your boat that you've had for a little while, and I just got my new boat, and I'm just dying to get that thing in the water, looking for a reason. And so we hooked up old Foulmouth 2 to the back of the truck and hooked up your boat, Foulmouth 1, and we made our way to the river and did some catfishing. Yeah. That was a good time. It was me and him, and then you and Mackenzie, and then his 2 oldest boys. And
you, him, and Mackenzie running one boat, and me and the other 2 went in my boat.
Yeah, you got a little bit of freedom. You got to actually take off in your boat, first time by yourself without me in the boat.
Yeah.
Got to fish by yourself.
Actually, not first time. Over there at Seven Lakes with Chuck's kids.
Yeah, I take that back. But I mean, it's the first big trip you took. You actually once we got them both in the backwater cut. You hopped in. The 2 oldest boys hopped in. You jumped in, started up, and you piloted the boat all the way out down the river. And
yeah, I thought you were going to go by and flood me out.
No, I wasn't going to leave you. I wasn't going to give you that much rope.
You got in front of me, and then you were like, come on, and I had it turned all the way up, and I'm like, ring. You're like, you got it all the way up. I'm like, yeah.
Well, you's going like 2.
If that.
Well, it's not a big motor. It gets you where you need to go. It's just
takes a while.
It's just not fast. I don't want to get you in too much trouble. But that was a big step for you, being able to take your boat out like that, really for the very first time.
Yeah, but at least you stayed by me.
And you did your own thing. You picked your own fishing spot, and you guys caught your own fish, and you got everything in the basket and did everything yourself, and then you took and piloted the boat all the way back to the bank where we put in at. So So what did that all feel like? Did you feel like a big grown adult or something?
Yeah, it felt cool. There was maybe, I don't know, Weston he never got into a fish. He had a few, but he didn't get him all the way in.
Yeah, he hooked a few, but couldn't get him into the boat.
I don't know what Avery's problem was. He kept casting out, and they kept spitting the hook like a foot away from the boat.
Yeah. Well, he caught some nice cats.
Yeah, he caught a few nice ones.
What'd you guys wind up putting in the basket? 4?
4, maybe 5.
4 or 5, yeah.
I caught 3, but I caught 3 big ones.
You caught 4 and we caught 4 in our boat.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, the first, man, go ahead and tell the fish story. This
Which
is
one? The first one?
The fish story. Yeah, the fish story.
Fish story.
The one where you had the net out and it flipped.
I don't even want to talk about it.
This is a fish tale, folks.
Okay.
Go ahead and tell it.
What happened is I just cast it out, and I'm like, okay, I'll just try this while I'm helping him because he got hung and his rig came off.
So you're tying a rig onto his
pole.
pole.
So, yeah, I just cast out as far as I can, and I cast it where we usually go. And I just put my rod in the rod holder.
Okay.
And kept it tight lined, and then I'm helping him put his rig on, and I feel a vibration right next to my neck. I turn around, my rod is turned about all the way over, down towards the water.
It's doubled over.
Yeah, doubled over. I picked it up, and I just set the hook just to make sure. I reeled that thing in, the drag was just zipping out like crazy. I finally...
I look over.
Yeah.
You got that rod just bent. It's doubled over, and I
the
see
boat's moving back.
And you're moving, and you're reeling. And I'm like, "Are you hung?" And you're like, "No, it's a fish."
Yeah.
So I started to grab the camera. I said, "Man, he's got a big one on."
Yeah, and I'm like, "Get the net." So Weston gets it, and I get it up right next to the boat, and that thing must have been maybe 2.5 feet long.
It was 30 inches. It was probably close to 30 inches because it was bigger than the 2 you caught.
Yeah.
And the other 2 you caught were at least 2 foot long.
Yeah.
They were big cats. They were good 2.5, 3 pound cats.
So I get it up, and I think it was like a flathead or something. It was like all black, and there was like a few white spots. I think it had like an eye missing or something. And I get it up, and he's trying to get it, and it keeps flipping, and he's getting scared of it. So I grab the net from him, and I couldn't get the rod up over my back because it kept trying to swim the other way. And I got it about halfway in the net, and then it rolled and spit the hook.
And got away.
Yeah, I took my rod and threw it in the boat.
The big fish story.
Yeah, it was huge.
It was a big fish.
That would have been the biggest fish I ever caught.
It was definitely it was bigger than the 2 you caught, and the 2 you caught that you landed later were every bit of 2 foot, and they were 2.5, 3 pound cats.
And they had huge heads on them.
Yeah, so he was probably a good 3 pound, maybe 4 pound catfish. It wasn't as big as the one Uncle Les caught, the 2 he caught last year, but he was probably as long, but just not as big around.
Yeah,
it was a whopper.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought I see you reeling and fighting that thing, and all of a sudden I see the boat going backwards, and you guys were anchored.
Yeah.
It was kind
of
in the
back and in the front.
It was funny, but yeah, that was the big fish story.
Did you actually see it?
I seen it when it broke top of the water. Yeah, it was a big fish.
Avery caught this little one about 5 inches long, and he didn't grab onto it.
Yeah,
It took about 10 minutes.
Well, he caught two keepers, 2 nice ones. And then you caught the 2 bigger ones.
Yeah.
And
they were the only ones that caught, but it was worth it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You guys had a good time over there.
And then there, towards the end, I caught that sheephead.
That was a big sheephead. Yeah.
He caught one you just threw out, and not even 2 minutes in the fishing trip, you caught it.
Oh, it was on the first cast.
Yeah.
Yeah. We get there and we set up, and I throw out, and it wasn't a minute, and all of a sudden, wham! And then things just fighting and fighting. And I'm like, I figured it was a sheephead the way it was fighting, and it just didn't feel like a cat. Because it was darting big time, just fighting back and forth all over the place instead of just rolling, and pull it up. And sure enough, it's a big old flat white sheephead, and it was what, I don't know, maybe 16 inches long.
Yeah, it was
or
about
so.
how big mine was too.
And flipped that thing back in, got rid of it. That's the only fish I caught all day.
It was?
Yeah, that was the only fish I caught.
I thought you caught a few catfish.
No, I hooked some and started them towards the boat, and they'd spit the hook.
I need bigger hooks.
I think that's part of the problem, is we're not using big enough hooks on them.
I don't know, Matt. Uncle Les always gets them.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I don't know what it is.
He lets them nibble on it for a minute or two.
Yeah, I don't know what the deal is, but for whatever reason. But Jason, their dad, he caught all 4 of ours, the ones we had in the basket, and one of them was a real nice one. It was almost as big as that big one you caught.
Actually, I think it was a big. It looked pretty long.
Yeah, it may have been longer, and it was a good 2.5, 3 pound cat. So
mine were bigger around though.
We had 8 fish, and we had a lot. We had big old huge slab fillets. Those were nice fillets. So
we let them have them.
Yeah, I mean, we got 2 bags in the freezer. We got enough, and we didn't get a chance to cook them last night. I had to go to work, and nobody here wanted to cook them.
Yeah, I was asleep, and then I started hearing the vacuum sealer. I'm like, what the heck?
So I just packaged them up, put them on ice, and let them put them in the cooler and take them back. So that way they can enjoy them. So
yeah,
it was fun, a lot of fun. Mackenzie was with us. She caught one and got it to the boat, and it wasn't a keeper, but she got it up and pulled it up and started to reach for it, and it flipped off the hook. So, but she did. We counted it as a catch anyway.
Yeah.
So.
If Avery would have caught all the ones that he had, he probably would have had over 10 fish.
Well, if we'd all caught the ones that we hooked, or thought we hooked,
Well, most of the ones that he had, we saw right before they spit the hook.
Yeah, get them up the boat, they break top water, they'll flip and roll and spit the hook out. So, but yeah, it was a good day. What were we out there? Maybe 3 hours, 4 hours. It was pretty good. Got out there and went down the river. I wanted to dust you so bad when we were putting down the river with the boat. I was like, every time we went in the river the last 2 times, my brother-in-law would just take his boat and just go, just fly past us and leave us in the dust in your boat.
Yeah.
So, but I didn't. I waited on you.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, I'll let you beat us back to the launch.
Yeah.
So, I'll let you take off back there. I was proud of you. You did a good job. You were safe with the boat. You guys had a good time, caught fish, and actually, you almost didn't catch fish. First time you guys moved, I said, you're leaving something behind. And he's like, what? I go, your fish basket's floating in the water. It's floating behind you. There goes your line.
I had it tied off, and because we were just moving a little bit, like across the river. And my fish basket's floating, and the current's taking it down river.
I'm like, you forgot something.
And I'm like, them stupid fish, if they just would have swam,
yeah,
they would have got out of there.
But, we had a good time, though. It was all good, and,
I haven't forgot about that. Forgot about the fish basket.
Important thing was you all had a good time. I had a good time, and I think Jason had a good time.
It would have been funny if that thing would have went down river and I had to go down and chase it.
Yeah. So, but other than that, that was our 2 days fishing. The boys caught a lot of the panfish that day at the mill pond. No keepers, obviously, but the little kids had fun, and that was the important thing. So, you tired there?
Yeah.
Letting out a big yawn. It's been a hard weekend, long weekend.
It's cold in here.
So, well, listen, let's take a quick break and get the first break out of the way, and we'll come back and pick up on a couple other things. What do you think?
Okay.
Sounds good. All right. Well, let's step outside real quick. We'll take a break, and we'll be right back after this.
If you're looking for the best in outdoor hunting and fishing podcasts, look no further than the Outdoor Radio Network. Each week we have dozens of podcasts devoted to outdoor sports, with shows like On the Water with Bob Murray, Bass Champ Journal, Surf and Shore Fishing, just to name a few. Check out all outdoor podcasts on the OutdoorRadioNetwork.com.
Welcome back, everybody. And now I got a couple articles I want to cover this week in outdoor news. And first one is about our neighboring state to the west of us, Wisconsin. And they're right in our back door here, so to speak. And what they're proposing may directly influence some things here in Michigan. So I kind of want to cover that. What they're wanting to do, they've got wolves over there, just kind of like we do here in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. Because basically, their Upper Peninsula and their state connect, so we probably got wolves crossing the border back and forth. But their wolf population is now starting to boom a little bit, And I'm not talking by like thousands. I think they said they've got 500, 600, 700 wolves, something like that, in that general area. I'm not exactly sure on the count, but what they want to do is they want to get that population back down a little bit. They're now over their established minimum number that they want to keep them off the endangered species list. And the hunters over there are wanting the opportunity to be able to hunt them. And their natural resource agency or Fish and Game Department has put a proposal together, and they are going to recommend to the legislature to take, or not the legislature, but the higher up in the Fish and Game Department to actually rule and vote on this. And I think they're going to make a decision, they said, by next May, is what it sounds like. So the hunters over there are wanting the opportunity to hunt wolves, which I think that'd be kind of cool in a way.
Yeah.
It's a different type of animal. I don't know. Would you hunt a wolf?
I don't know if I could take Kevin's hand cannon with me.
If you had the right weapon to use, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, we hunt coyotes. It's, a smaller canine animal.
Relatives.
Yeah, so to speak. So, it'd be different. Maybe if that population continues to grow, there may be an opportunity here in Michigan for the same thing to happen. So,
just a little more bite power, right?
Yeah, a little bit bigger dog. A little more bark in the dog, so to speak. Yeah. But, that's kind of cool. It's, right here in the back door. So that opportunity, may eventually wind up happening here in Michigan also.
Or in the UP.
Yeah, the UP anyway. Yeah, that's where our wolf population is, actually, is up that way in the Upper Peninsula. So, our next article is actually out of the state of Wyoming, and it involves their elk herd out there in Yellowstone. And there is a disease out there that's kind of working its way through the bison, through the elk, and through cattle out there. It's called brucellosis. I think that's how you pronounce it. If I'm pronouncing it wrong, I'm sorry, but I think that's how you pronounce it. And basically, this disease, what it does when it gets into the cattle, it affects the cattle. It causes them to abort their calves, so their calves don't come to full term. So they can't be born, obviously. And there's a vaccine for it for cattle, but for the other wildlife, they don't have an effective vaccine. And the vaccine for the cattle is actually only 60 to 70% effective. And what they're proposing to do now is to go in and start slaughtering the elk herds out there. And the sportsmen in that area out there are livid. They do not want their elk herd slaughtered out there, number one. The bison, when you read the article, what did it say? They
slaughtered 6,000 bison on the way out.
In the last 2 decades?
Yeah, on the way out.
So in the last 20 years, they've killed they've killed 6,000 bison in the last 20 years, keeping them out of the wintering ranges of the cattle. And that's kind of what they're worried about with the elk, getting into the wintering ranges of the cattle and getting that disease and spreading that disease further. The sportsmen of that area are actually saying that the elk that have this disease, the percentages are extremely low. And by slaughtering the herd, it's not really going to have an effective outcome as to what the wildlife agencies and the legislature want to happen. And, I started thinking about this. I don't know a lot about that disease out there. I don't know a lot of how they're trying to manage it, but it reminds me exactly what's happening here in Michigan with our white-tailed deer herd. We've got tuberculosis in the deer herd, especially up where we hunt in our main hunting area.
The hot zone. Yeah,
we're right in the middle of what we call the TB hot zone. And that's what's happened up there. They've slaughtered the deer herd because that disease has jumped across. The bovine tuberculosis has jumped back into the cattle. And, you get the legislature involved. You get the FDA, or the Department of Agriculture. You get the insurance companies. You get all these political organizations involved in this. And they've all got other motives for doing what they want to do. And who suffers? Usually it's the farmers who suffer and the sportsmen. They both suffer. And there's really no effective, well, I won't say no effective way, but the way they're doing it right now is by slaughtering the deer herd. We've seen deer numbers up in that area just decimated beyond...
You can even tell from where we hunt, you could see, 40 deer in a day?
Oh, back when we first started hunting up there, you'd see, 40, 50 deer a day up there. You'd see monster bucks. I mean, there was a lot of deer in that area. There was a ton of deer in that area. Was there too many deer? Probably was. But now, some people go through and see 3, 4, 5 deer a day, maybe. There's just, and the big bucks are no longer there, at least where we're at. Just don't see them like we used to. Last year, I hunted the first 4 or 5 days of opening week of firearm deer season. I seen one buck, and it was a spike horn. It's the only buck I saw. And you've seen, I think, 2 button bucks and a spike horn. So the deer have really suffered up there because of this. And the percentages of tuberculosis in the deer herd has actually went down this year. But we're talking 1 to 2, 2.5% of the deer herd have this. So it just makes me think about the guys out there who are now facing this with the elk. Kind of reminds me of what we faced here. So just kind of a comparison.
Did they ever make that thing for the summer licenses?
Here in Michigan?
Yeah.
As far, you mean up there in that zone?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they're shooting deer up there day and night. Yeah. Yeah, pretty much. If you have private land, they give out a bunch of deer licenses this year to just kill deer. Yeah. They said they wanted to see the numbers up there drop by 50%.
If we're not seeing that much, then drop it by 50%. We really won't see any.
That's the point, yeah. So, we're on the other side of the equation. I mean, I understand the farmers, their livelihoods at stake, but there's a lot of other people who also depend on deer season to make their livelihood. The people up in that area, there's a lot of agricultural and rural area, and those people depend on deer hunters coming up in the fall and the winter seasons to make their income. Be it via hotels, supermarkets, licensing,
butcher shops.
That's a good one. Yeah, I didn't even think about that. Butcher shops, taxidermists, and if you start killing, and wiping out the deer herd and dropping the numbers, the whole community is going to suffer as a whole. But I don't know what the answer is. I really don't. I've often said maybe what they need to do is take the money that they're spending on this and trying to thin these herds out, take that money and give it to the farmers of that area and let them high fence their farm, their pasture land where their cattle is, and keep the deer away from the cattle,
Yeah.
So, and I don't know that that's the answer either, but it's, something I've thrown out there before to suggest. So, anything else you want to say on that one?
Kind of off topic.
What's that?
Going from elk to deer.
Well, no, I was just comparing the two.
Yeah.
Their situation out there, it's kind of like what we're facing here, what we're going through. When you want to go in and slaughter a herd and reduce numbers because of disease. No, it's not exactly the same, but it's kind of the same.
Yeah.
Well, listen, let me get to the last article here, and this one involves my parent company that I work for, the Big Mouse Ears down in Florida. The TV station I work for here is owned by Disney. And in the state of Florida recently, they passed a law regarding CCW, or concealed carry permits, that people who held those concealed carry permits in that state could actually legally have their firearm in their vehicle at their workplace. Legally secure their firearm, lock it in their vehicle, out of sight, out of mind, out of way, and go inside to work, come back out, and take their firearm with them on their way to work and from work, to protect themselves. That law was just passed. Well, there was a security guard that worked for Disney who said that he was going to, partake in this law and make sure that he could carry his firearm now. Now, he talked about it. Whether he did it or not, it still hasn't come out and been said if he carried it to work or not. But his employer met him at the parking lot that morning. The Disney officials met him at the parking lot and the county sheriff and wanted to search his car immediately. And he said, no, you can't search my car. He says, you have no legal right to search my car. You have no reason. I'm not breaking the law. So he denied them search of his vehicle, went about his business, went to work. 4 hours into his shift, the Disney officials came to him and said, you are suspended. They suspended him, and there's now an internal investigation. So it was an unreasonable search of his vehicle that he did
they search it?
No, he wouldn't let them, and they had no cause to. So he did not.
Warrant?
No warrant. And he said, no, you can't search my vehicle. So they did their own internal investigation. Basically, they went behind closed doors and said, okay, we're going to suspend the guy. And that's what they've done. And now he could lose his job over this for, basically defying Disney, defying the mouse ears. They say they have a legal right to deny him his freedom to carry in his vehicle. And they say the reason is because they store fireworks on site. And whether that's a loophole in that state, I don't know. I personally don't know that. But that's the ground they're standing on. And he said, no, I've got a legal right to do it, and you tried to search my car illegally, and that's where they're meeting, butting heads right now. So we're going to have to see what happens with that. What do you think?
Just stupid.
Crazy, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. All right, well, listen, that's our outdoor news for the week. Let's take another quick break. We'll step outside, we'll come back, and we'll wrap up the show.
If you're looking for the best in outdoor hunting and fishing podcasts, look no further than the Outdoor Radio Network. Each week we have dozens of podcasts devoted to outdoor sports, with shows like On the Water with Bob Murray, Bass Champ Journal, Surf and Shore Fishing, just to name a few. Check out all outdoor podcasts on the OutdoorRadioNetwork.com.
Welcome back, everybody. And normally Michael gets to spout off about his favorite part of the show here, but we're going to hold him back just a little bit.
Sigh.
And we're going to cover our last interview that we did with Paul Penix. If you've been listening to the show for the last 3 weeks, we've been getting ready to do our big bow review for the youth. And Paul Penix works for Browning PSC, and we've actually had 3 interviews with him here in the last 3 weeks. And we covered the Micro Midas 3, we covered the Micro Eclipse, and we also covered the Micro Adrenaline. And what we've got today is the Discovery by Browning, which is a bow that is very similar to the Matthew Genesis bow. So with that being said, sit back and take a listen. Here's Paul Penix from PSE Browning.
Okay, I see you've got this is a different bow. This, to me, looks like a youth beginner bow, maybe something that would be comparable to maybe a Matthews Genesis.
Correct. Exactly right, Mike. This is the Browning Discovery. And just like the Genesis, it is a constant draw bow, which means that it doesn't have let-off. It's not an effective compound bow, but it has wheels, so it has the appearance, and it's a little different draw cycle than, say, a standard recurve would be. And this bow will go from, hardly any draw at all out to 30 inches. So this bow would actually be too long for me in its longest phase. My arm extended all the way out. I'm way past where my normal anchor would be. And the real nice thing about this bow is when you have parents that come in and they've got 3 kids that get excited about an archery in the school program, but they've got a budget for one bow, well, this bow does all the work. And the beauty of this is that in the next year or 2, if he has a couple children that decide that maybe archery isn't their thing, maybe one wants to play softball, one wants to play soccer, and the one kid wants to stick with archery, but he wants to compound. Well, mom and dad still got to think about the budget and $4 a gallon gas and things like that. So what we're able to do is just change this module and make it the same as the Micro Midas 3, and we've effectively made this a compound bow, and it's all for under $35.
So you can upgrade this to be something similar to the Midas and for less than $50.
Exactly correct.
And now you've got a compound that can effectively take game.
Absolutely. And if you don't get it in a target color, you get it in the black and camo version, take it right to the woods and go hunting. And it has the same limb upgrade program that the Browning Micro Midas 3 carries over. So it gets to be a very viable option for a parent, and especially looking into the future at what might be there for their archery family. And it just really saves the people a lot of money, saves them a lot of headaches of looking for something later. And with the 2-cam, I don't want anybody to get the wrong impression that I'm saying that 1-cams are not a viable solution to archery. They are a great bow, and we have lots of them in our product line. But this little guy, with the short draws and the lighter poundages, the two cams help immensely as far as arrow cast and shooting farther distances. And not that a child is going to shoot 100 meters or anything like that, but they can effectively shoot 35 yards, 40 yards with this bow.
And you're going to get target penetration, so you're not going to get a bounce off, and it's going to want them to shoot more. They're going to have better confidence. It's going to be a lot fun for them to see that arrow stick in the target versus bouncing off.
That's one thing. we tease some of the kids. We say, well, next time maybe you need to lick the tip, and they get a little aggravated with us, and we're just teasing them. But it makes them feel good. Even if they don't hit the bullseye, it doesn't make a difference. As long as that arrow sticks in the target, that's a big deal for them. So the Browning Discovery has got its work cut out for it, and the Archery in the Schools program has recognized and accepted the Genesis as the bow, but this is a viable change and a viable alternative for somebody that's looking for a school type of bow or camp style type of bow, something that a lot of children can utilize, and it doesn't just specifically fit one kid.
Now, you mentioned archery in the schools. Are you currently involved in any school programs with this bow?
We are. Brown City is using the bow, using the Discovery and the Micro Midas 3 currently. I think there is one or two children that might be shooting a Micro Adrenaline, but primarily the Discovery and the Micro Midas 3. Dave Bowman of Bowman Outdoors in Brown City is the guy that's been very instrumental in getting into that school program, and just done a masterful job doing that. And every year his program has grown by 30% or more. So it's jumping. It's just growing in leaps and bounds. And I think this year he had like 50 or 60 kids in the program, which is just phenomenal.
Now, what type of price range are we talking on a bow like this to get kids involved in shooting?
With the Target model with the sparkle limbs and the colored riser, we're looking at $169.
Very reasonable.
Very reasonable, absolutely. And it has a full lifetime warranty. String and cables are the only thing that you ever pay to replace out of your own pocket, so everything else is covered under the factory warranty.
Okay, great. Well, I appreciate your time today, and thank you for the information.
Always glad to, Mike. Thank you.
Thank you.
So that was Paul Penix from PSE Browning talking about the Discovery. And, if you listen to the show here in the last week or two, you also know we've put my daughter on a bow. Actually, she's been using the Matthews Genesis. My youngest daughter, she started shooting, so I've got all 4 kids shooting now. And that Discovery is basically just like the Matthews Genesis. Have you shot that bow, Michael?
Yeah, a few times.
The Matthews. What'd you think about it? I mean, it's a constant draw bow.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not a traditional compound.
Yeah, it doesn't have a back wall to it. It's kind of small for me, but something I noticed, you don't have a bracket to put a rest on. Oh,
as far as you mean actual, like a
whisker biscuit or something?
You're talking about like a hole, tapped hole where you can put a bracket on? I think it does have a tapped hole, but they've got the flipper rest on that one right now. I think you can set it up with one of those. It's just that the way that this one is set up, it's just got a simple flipper rest on it right now. And we borrowed this one from my buddy Kevin Hutchings. Yeah,
I like how it's made. It's like it's really lightweight. It's got a good grip on it. Mm-hmm. It only goes up to 20 pounds, but it's fun to shoot.
Yeah. It's good to teach kids on, first timers. You can adjust the different poundage on the bow just like you would any other bow. Simple Allen set screw and loosen it up. And I think my daughter's shooting 13, 14 pounds, something like that. I
think I've shot one at full thing before, like at an archery competition or something.
Oh, they had him at the Jakes event last year.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the Michigan Bowhunters Association. Yeah. Who actually helped out with our event, and who's going to be there again. Matter of fact, let me give him a plug real quick. August 2nd, which is less than a month. Actually, it's less than 4 weeks now. Saturday, August 2nd, at Williams Gun Site in Flint, Michigan, the Flint River chapter of the National Wild Turkey Federation, which I am a member of, is putting on their annual Jakes event. So,
which I'm part of.
Which you're going to be a part of this year. So, you got young kids, you live in the area, by all means, get them to that event. It's free. We're going to give them lunch. We're going to let them shoot bows. We're going to let them shoot BB guns if they're comfortable enough. We're going to let them shoot shotguns. Got a fish tank there, a big fish pond, put on by the Flint Area Steelheaders Group.
You go swimming?
No, you're not swimming with a fish. You can catch fish. We're going to build a birdhouse, I think.
You are?
No, I said the kids. They are.
Oh.
I don't know what I'm doing yet. I'm going to be a volunteer. I'm going to help in some way.
I thought you wanted to build a birdhouse.
No, I don't want to build a birdhouse. I'm going to build one and put you in it.
Oh.
For the big dodo.
Well,
the big dodo bird.
Or dark bird.
You're going to be tying fish flies.
Yeah.
You're going to be tying some flies for the kids to use and helping out with that. I don't know, they got a couple other little odd and end things too. I can't remember right offhand, but it's a good time. So get over there to that event. If you need information...
ATV course.
ATV, well, I don't know if they're going to do that this year. I think they are.
Gas is too expensive.
No, I think they had to get a different group to bring the ATVs in this year. I'm not sure. So that's something that they're going to have to... I don't know. Just have to wait and see. But anyway, if you need more information on that, email me, michaeladams@upnorthjournal.com, and I can get you all the specifics on it. So, now where were we? Oh, we're talking about the bow. Yeah, the bows.
Yeah, you had to put a plug in.
Yeah, the Matthews bows. So for a beginner person that you want to get started on a bow, the Discovery bow, the Matthews, either one. But yeah, I just wanted to get that last interview in with Paul from Browning PSC. And not this week, but next week, a week from this Tuesday, which will be the 15th of July, Pat Diamond from Bowtech is coming from Ohio up to pay a visit to us. And he's coming up to the range, and we're going to have a little sit-down with him and do an interview.
A little powwow?
Yeah. So we're going to kind of go over their bow line for their youth bows and interview him just like we did Paul and talk with him. So hopefully we'll get 2, 3, 4 interviews out of him. And next week, I think next week's show, we're going to have a representative from Parker Bows that we interviewed at the Lansing Gander Mountain event, the big archery event that we were at. I've got an interview with him that we're going to put on. So that'll give us 3 companies that we're able to talk to and give you some information on. So, but Saturday, July 12th, is supposed to be the big day. We're kicking off the Broadhead field test and range test review, and the kids are going to get the bows. We're going to start our big youth bow review. And
what are we going to do first, you think?
I don't know. Just going to kind of play it by ear.
Oh, we're doing both on the same day, you think?
Well, I want the kids to be there and be part of that event, and we're going to let them shoot a little bit, maybe play with the bows some, and start getting familiar with those, letting some of the parents get familiar with those. They're going to be helping them set them up, and kind of go down that road there. But what's going to happen is I want every kid that's available to shoot whichever bows that they could actually get into, size-wise and poundage-wise. And I want them to shoot them, more than just that one day. We're going to try to make 2, 3, 4 different times throughout the rest of the summer and the fall to get them an opportunity to be able to shoot these things.
Are we going to have like a size group, kind of like for the bigger kids for the stronger bows and stuff? Yeah,
I think we will. We'll probably have to. Obviously, Jacob and my youngest son Jacob's not going to be able to pull your bow back.
Yeah.
So that's going to be more of the younger teenage group that's going to be able to use those bows. We've got a couple guys at the range, not kids, but guys, your age, that they're going to field test those for us. So we're going to keep, take them up to the range every time we go, and whoever's there, whichever kids are there, hey, you want to shoot some bows? Get over here. We're going to shoot some bows. So it's going to be a period of time before we actually give the results of that out, but we'll be talking about it throughout the summer, the rest of the summer and the fall. And then there's going to be you, Mackenzie, Kevin's daughter, Mindy, and that's going to be the 3 that are going to be in the field hunting. Now, Jacob, he's going to be shooting bows throughout the fall. He's just not old enough to hunt. Tim's boy is not going to be old enough to hunt. We're going to get a bow in his hand. And then we've got some other guys, like I say, at the range, who hopefully we can put a couple bows in their hands. If they're going to go do a hunt, we're going to set them up and say, here, go use these bows. Tell us what you think about them in the field. I think it's going to be a good test. I really do.
Yeah.
I'm really looking forward to seeing what you guys got to say about it. I'm looking forward to hearing what the parents have got to say about it. So that's, we got a lot going on next weekend. It's going to be busy. The rest of the summer is going to be busy. So anxiously awaiting that. So, but speaking of the youth bow review, we got 2 new bows in this week.
Yeah.
Our good friends from PSC Browning hooked us up. The 2 bows that we were waiting on finally arrived. We got the Micro Adrenaline and the Micro Eclipse that the kids are going to use. I'd like to say thank you for being so generous, for allowing us to be able to use these bows and put them in the kids' hands. I'd like to thank Paul Penix from PSC Browning, and I'd like to thank the company PSC and Browning for providing them for us. So Now, like I said, Pat Diamond is coming up from Bowtech next week. They've provided us with 2 bows to use in Gene Shands from Bowtech. I'd like to thank both of those gentlemen for being so gracious and helping us out with this test also. In Gander Mountain, once again, I'd like to extend my gratitude towards those guys. Derek Holmes and Ken Morrison over at the Lansing store here in Lansing, Michigan, who's provided bows for us to use also. So we've got a good group of guys that's helping out with these kids, and that's what it's all about. So getting kids involved again. You seen those 2 bows that we got this week. What did you think about when we cracked them out of the box?
They actually look pretty cool for being kids' bows and having semi-parallel limbs. I think one of them has parallel limbs.
One of them's true parallel limb bow.
But one of them has semi, and they actually look pretty sweet.
They are pretty cool.
Yeah.
They look like an adult bow, except they just downsize just a little bit.
I think there's one that goes to like 28-inch draw and like 50 pounds.
Yeah. And that bow could actually, you're going to get the field test. You're going to shoot that bow. And that could be for a small-framed female or a small-framed adult male that, that can't pull a 60-pound bow but still wants to get out there and hunt big game. And, it's quite capable of doing it. I mean, it's a pretty radical-looking bow. So, and that's a dual cam, and then we've got the other one that's a single cam. It's we're going to have a lot of fun with that. So, with that being said, we took them over to the bow shop today, got them all set up over there, and actually you took your bow back over there, back over to Brown's Archery of the pro shop. You were having a few little issues with yours this week.
Yeah.
You had yours worked on last week, right?
Yeah, I had mine worked on last week, and I had that new G5 peep sight put in, and it was kind of big. And I don't know why, but I was having some twist issues with my string. Like, my string wasn't, set up right or something.
It was twisting on you when you were pulling back.
Yeah, it was twisting when I was pulling back. Mm-hmm. So I took it back, and the guy looked at it and goes, "Oh, this is too big for you."
Mm-hmm.
So he gave me, I think, what did he give me, like a 3/16?
No, he downsized it to, he did. Yeah, it was 3/16.
Yeah, and he locked it in with serving around it for extra strength, and he twisted the string for me, I think.
Okay. Got you all back lined up and ready to go. That's
and
cool.
Actually, I got a new release that I'm going to talk about in Game Bag.
Okay. All right. So, yep, they hooked you up. Now, the one Mackenzie's going to shoot, we got over there and kind of got a little crossed up on the 2 bows. I had one picked out for her and one picked out for Jake. And come to find out, one of them that I was going to put in Mackenzie's hands, we couldn't get the draw length set just the way we wanted it to. We thought it was stopping way too short, and that was the one that had 11 inches of travel on it. And I'm like, something's not jiving here. I just didn't understand what was going on.
Yeah.
Got back home and later found out why. That there's a short and a long setting, and then there's the incremental steps, and we had it on the long setting instead of the short setting, and so we figured that out and got the poundage dialed down, and we're going to give that one to Jake. But we got Mackenzie set up on the other one, which was the Eclipse, I believe, single cam bow. And he got her all set up on that. We put a sight on it, put a peep sight on it, got the hostage rest set up on it, got it all zeroed in, dialed in and laser tuned and everything.
Yeah.
And
that's what sighted in at 5 yards?
Well, he started her at 5, and then backed her up to 10. And you'll go through a little bit of that in Game Bag of why that is.
Yeah.
But, I mean, we put this bow in her hand, and, she's hitting targets, and hitting, same area pretty consistent. Worked on her form, got her form adjusted and set up some different things on her shooting stance, which I really didn't catch because you guys shoot while I'm at work, and I don't get to watch you a whole lot. So all of a sudden she's excited because she's hitting targets now and hitting them pretty accurately. So we got that one all set up. We got the other bow set up that now is going to become Jake's. We finally, like I said, got home, got it all tuned, or not tuned, we got it dialed down for the draw length the way I wanted it.
Didn't we just get knock put on it?
Got a knock put on it and got the rest lined up.
Yeah.
So did a little work on that one. But, and then, like I said, you got your stuff taken care of. So it was a pretty good day.
Well, seems now that we got that out of the way, let's get into the best part of the show. My part, Mikey's Game Bag. Okay, this week on Mikey's Game Bag, I'm going to be talking about some of the tips that the guy, I think Joe
over at Brown's.
Joe gave us. I'm going to talk about the release, so we'll talk about that first.
Okay.
After I got the release that I had to pay like almost $60 for.
You and I argued about last week on last week's show.
Yeah.
But wait, you know what? I don't want to jump on you here real quick, but I want to back up just a little bit. I got an email last week about that, about you and I going back and forth on this.
Yeah.
And I actually lost. A guy named Jason Amaro from the New Mexico Sportsman, who's hooked up now with the guys out at Bowcast. He's doing a little bit of work with those guys out there. He emailed me, and he said, I hate to say that I agree with Mikey, but I agree with Mikey.
There's nothing wrong with agreeing with me.
No, there's not. We both had our reasons for it, and he explained himself. And, it's something I really didn't think about a whole lot with releases, but he said with that belt buckle style that you wanted, that it's in the same place every time because it locks into the same hole every time. He said, whereas if you use a Velcro release, like I like to use, you might have it a little bit tighter or a little bit looser than the previous time, and it's not locking up on your hand at the same spot.
Yeah.
He said, which can cause your draw length to actually change, a half inch or so one way or the other. So, Jason, thank you for setting me straight. I'm not sure that I'm going to go to one of those yet because I still like the way those work, but I understand why you said what you did, and it makes sense to me. So, with that being said, I guess you won the argument.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, but now I lose the argument because now I'm back on the Velcro.
And explain why.
The guy said that my release wasn't set for me and it was dialed all the way down.
It was a little long.
Yeah, it was a little long for me. And now I got this thing that fits about halfway in my hand.
Okay. And that's something we should have picked up on the day we were over there.
Yeah.
And that's something I'm learning about. I'm still learning about releases. It's something I don't know a lot about as far as that technology that goes behind that. I mean, I know how they work, and I know the purpose of them, but, what's the right length? Where are they, supposed to exactly hook up onto your hand? I always think about comfort.
Yeah.
But, go ahead and talk about what Joe told you.
He said that it's too long for me, and it's not at full draw or something.
Okay.
With a longer one. And actually, probably next year, I'll probably actually be able to get into that.
Then that's what he did say. He said, keep the release you got, the new one, because you will grow into it. He said, you're almost there, but you're not quite there.
Yeah.
And so what did he get you on?
So he got me in a True Fire Patriot Junior, which is what Jacob and McKenzie are shooting.
Yeah. Well, you got short hands. You do. You got short fingers compared to, me.
And actually what most people don't know is when you draw, it pulls it forward.
Mm-hmm.
And it's right at my finger. And
Yep.
It feels just right.
Yep. I guess when you're sizing these things up, you need to put them on, get into a bow, pull it back, and see where it's at.
Yeah, after getting at that, Jacob was laughing at me at the bow shop. He's like, that thing's small. And when I get home, I'm like, boom, boom, boom. And I get it in a group of 2 or 3 inches, and he's like, dang.
Well, after they put that new peep sight in and did a little more tuning on your bow, and you went to that new release. Now, last week, I noticed, you were shooting better last week.
Yeah.
You're still, having a flyer here or there, maybe a little bit. But, your grouping was getting tighter. But when we shot today, when we got home from the pro shop, I was like, my gosh. I was just, astounded at how well you were shooting. It's like, like a guy who's been shooting for years. I was just blown away. Your groupings came down to, if you'd have been on the William Tell shoot, if you'd have shot that now instead of back when we shot that tournament, what was it, a month and a half, 2 months ago?
Yeah.
You may have beat me because, you were stacking them. You were definitely stacking arrows, and I couldn't have been more proud. It was really cool to watch you shoot. So whatever he did to that bow, and by switching you to that release, I was amazed.
Yeah. He also got me some of the other stuff that he told us to do was when you draw, make it so it's a push and a pull.
Mm-hmm.
Don't actually just grip onto the bow, just hold it in between, in the V in your hand, and just pull back. He said don't pull with your hand either. Pull back with your arm.
Pull back with your shoulder.
shoulder.
Yep, use that back shoulder muscle to pull back.
Yeah.
And so, a lot of guys, what they'll do is they'll hoist that bow up in the air up over their head, and they'll pull it, like they're aiming up and then pulling it down. Or they'll come down and then come up as they're drawing.
Yeah.
And, and that's what he did. He showed you, put that pocket, that riser, that grip right in the palm, right in that V-notch of your hand. Make a stop like you're putting a stop sign, like your hand up. Tell somebody to stop with your 5 fingers. and turn it just a little bit and put it right on that riser. Get that riser buried into that palm.
Yeah.
Don't grip it. Just put it in there, and then you push it forward and pull back at the same time. It's a push,
see,
pull.
what I was kind of doing is I was kind of pulling up.
Okay.
Like not aiming above my head and pulling down, but aiming down and pulling up. And now I'm just pulling straight back, just like you're supposed to.
Push and pull.
Yep.
Getting that good lock.
And another thing he said, he changed my anchor point. Like, I had the corner of the fletching on my, like, kind of like a kisser button, kind of.
You're using the fletching as a kisser button.
Yeah. And that kind of messes up the fletchings and stuff, he said. And he actually got me to where the V in my hand is actually at the corner of my jaw now.
If you're using the V, make a V with your finger, your index finger and your thumb. And you're locking that thumb underneath that back corner of your jaw. Isn't that what he was talking about?
Yeah.
Locking it. So that's in the same spot every time. And then lining your nose up.
Put the tip of your nose right on your
string.
Yeah. And then look down, and he says a lot of people have too big of peep sights.
Mm-hmm.
He said when you do that and have your hand, the V, and the thumb right underneath your jaw, and you put your tip of your nose on your string, you want that the outline of the peep right on the outline of your sight.
Okay, because a lot of guys' sights, front sight, it's a round sight.
Yeah.
So you want them two circles to match up, is what he's saying, right?
Yeah.
You don't want any space around it.
Yeah.
And that's what you were having before.
Yeah, and he says that causes floating, trying to get it centered.
Okay.
And after that, he says focus on the target, because when you focus on the pin, it blurs the target.
Okay.
And you focus on the target, and then you look at your pin, and when you focus on your target, there's less wavering.
Okay. Because you're focusing on something out in front of you further away.
Yeah.
So you don't get that pin movement, is what he's saying. What we call, like shooting a shotgun or a rifle, we call it making donuts. Because you can't settle down perfectly still and make that front sight quit moving. I don't care.
Unless you strap it down.
Yeah, unless you're using a sled or something like that and you're strapping it onto a bench, and you just can't stop your movement. You're a human being. Your muscles move. You're always moving. You're breathing. Blood's flowing through you. So, and especially with a bow, you're standing up. You're not sitting on a bench locked in. So when it's out there and that hand's sticking out there, forcing that bow forward, and you're locked in, it's still going to move a little bit. And that's what he's talking about. You focus on that pin, all of a sudden that thing starts moving a little more. Focus on your target out in front of you.
Yeah.
Like a lot of guys we've talked about, even the guys over there at Bowcast, I've heard them mention, find a tuft of hair, on the animal, whatever animal you're shooting, something that's just a little bit discolored. If you're shooting a deer brown. Well, find that one little tuft of hair that may be sticking out that's got a little shadow on it, or maybe it's a little white sticking out something. And, find that right there in your kill zone. And that's what that's what your focus point is. That's what you're aiming at, okay? Focus on that, and that breaks that focus point away from your pin sight. You're looking at the animal, and then you bring that sight in line with that, and then touch it off.
Yeah.
That's what he was talking about. But yeah, I can understand what he's saying by that.
Yeah, and he also taught me how to keep my finger on the trigger. Because a lot of people are afraid that if they have their trigger, they have their finger on the trigger, that they're going to release it. But he says, now put your finger on there and pull back very slow and see how long it takes for it to release.
And do that before you get up there and fire an arrow. But yeah, learn the pressure point.
I was at like 5 yards away from it then.
Mm-hmm.
And that whole wall was a bail.
Yeah. And then learn what that pressure point, how much pressure it takes to set that trigger off. A lot of guys, if they've got an adjustable trigger, they'll set them so low that they're hair triggers, man. You touch it and they go off.
Yeah.
That can be good or bad, I guess, whatever you're used to shooting.
See, after today of shooting, I can get mine halfway, and then when, like, I got guys, like you said, making donuts, you wait for that perfect thing, like when you're standing still, and then you just release it.
Right.
Because you're already halfway there.
Yeah.
You squeeze the foot off.
Yeah, just got to squeeze it, and away it goes. So, when you get that sight picture just the way you want it, and it dances and it comes right across that point where you want it to fire, just touch it off. Because like I said, you're not going to stop that movement. So, now he talked about some other stuff about setting up maybe in your basement and shooting at a blank canvas.
Yeah, he said just practice all this. Just take a blank bail. Just put he said don't really even aim. Just like point like right at the middle of it.
Mm-hmm. And go over form.
Yep, form.
Keep shooting, repetition, building your form.
Yeah. He says don't even aim. Just
Just
basically point at it.
Point at it, and you find that comfort zone. When you feel it and you touch that off, you're building that muscle memory. You're building the confidence factor in what that form feels like. So you don't have to think about it when an animal walks in front of you, or when you're on the target range and you're shooting the last arrow to win the tournament. You know, you don't have to think, okay, push, pull. Okay, now get your nose on the line, get your anchor point. You know, you don't think about that stuff. It all becomes just instinct. You automatically do it because you've done it so many times.
He said too many people think and they screw up the shot.
Yep. You got to get
actually, I found myself doing that a few times when we were shooting.
Mm-hmm.
I had like a flyer maybe off like a few inches.
Yep, you got to get that all out of your mind. You know, that's why I say it's a lot of shooting, especially even tournament shooting. It's all mental pressure you put on yourself. If you get all that out of your head, you get that mechanics down. The mechanics, if you get that repetition, it all builds itself, and all of a sudden you're just doing it instinctively. It's all instinct. And then all you're doing, you're focusing on the target, and then you're focusing on just squeezing that trigger.
Yeah, the guy, he said, and that's why all the Asian people beat us in the Olympics, because they shoot in front of a blank bale. They shoot thousands and thousands of rounds.
They're
get
building
their form down.
Yep, building form. Yep, he said the Chinese kick our butts all the time in the Olympics, in the archery sports, because of that.
He says because we aim at targets too much.
Yep. He said you got to build that form. You know, do that first. Get that form down. Then you start the target or the sight acquisition and building that, you know, practicing. So I told you that last year, didn't I?
Yeah, I never did it.
I told you all winter long. Get in the basement and shoot. And shoot and shoot and shoot. Muscle memory. Get 10 feet in front of a target, fire arrows. You know, whether you hit the bullseye or not, you're building form. That's what you want to do, build form. So
You know what I'm going to do? Since we have like 5 targets on ours, what I'm going to start doing is I'm just going to aim in between the targets.
Oh, the bullseyes?
Point, just point like right at the blank in between them.
Yeah. It helps. It really does. You got to build that form. But I'll tell you what, man, I was really proud of the way you shot today when we got home from the range.
You
or
just
from the
kept
pro shop.
doing dang and shaking your head.
It was that was some good arrow stacking. Is all I can say. It was really good. So is that game bag?
Yeah.
A little bit of archery technique.
Yeah.
Got you another new release.
Again.
That
you paid for.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Yeah, I'll take care of you. Got to take care of my kids.
Yeah, I was kind of mad. He's like, "Oh, you don't need that release." I'm like, "Dang it!"
It's just wasted $60 on that thing. But no, he said keep it.
Yeah.
He said and go back to it when you grow into it.
Yeah.
So that's the important thing, is being able to grow into it later, you know. Keep it so you can grow into it. So he said it's a good release.
Yeah.
So you didn't waste your money. But Joe over at Brown's, the pro shop, thank you, man. I really appreciate it. Matter of fact, he gave me a card. He's going to be off on vacation for 10 days. He gave me his personal phone number, and he said, you got any problems this week? In the next 10 days before I get back, he said, give me a call. He said, and I'll help you out.
First, if we ever need any help or anything.
Yeah. There's not many guys that would do that. You know, he spent a lot of time with us today and helped us out a lot. I learned a lot. You know, I learned a lot over there. I'm no archery expert by any means. I love to shoot, but man, I'm learning a lot.
Yeah.
I've learned a lot here in the last year by just listening to guys, picking up techniques, picking up tips, watching other people shoot, and talking with some of these guys at the pro shop and going to that archery event over in Lansing. I mean, I'm just kind of soaking it all up. So it's all good.
Last week, did I ever talk about them fobs?
No, No, but you ran across that today at the bow shop.
Yeah. These fobs. I actually really think I did talk about them.
Maybe you did. I don't know.
But they're basically, you take off your nock, your arrow. You don't have to fletch at all. It's like a little plastic ring, and it has 3 prongs sticking out in a hole in the middle.
That becomes your fletching.
Yeah, and it has an outer ring on it.
Mm-hmm.
And you take off your knock, put it on, and then put your knock back on. And whenever you hit an animal from just the force, it knocks it out.
Okay.
So you know where you, like if you hit and it runs, you know where you hit it.
Oh, if it goes through it.
Yeah.
Do a pass-through shot, you know that's the spot you hit the animal.
Yeah.
Okay.
And there was a guy shooting them that was shooting them there today, and he was getting some fixed because he's having problems with them. I didn't talk to him, but after he left, I talked to him. He was like, have you ever used them fobs? And he's like, they're nothing but trouble.
Yeah.
He goes, everyone that comes in here with them they're getting stuff fixed. Not to make it better, just to fix the problems that they're having with them.
To make them work.
Yeah.
So, if any guys out there thinking about that, I'm not saying they're bad or anything, but the guy at the pro shop said, The guys who are using them are spending a lot of time getting to where they can actually use them.
But remember them things I showed you?
What's that?
The knot. They're like extra long knocks, and they had 4 prongs sticking off of them.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, they were like knock fletchings. They're pretty cool.
Yeah, that's the first time I've seen them. I don't know anything
I've
about them.
never seen them.
Don't know anything about them, but so is that game bag for the week?
Yeah.
All right, some archery tips that you've learned, some techniques, and learn how to
What
shoot
not
for
to do.
them and what not to do. Yeah.
Or buy.
Or buy, yeah. So it's been a good week. Kind of crammed everything in here at the end of the week, as usual. But, that's the way the week goes. And next weekend, like I said, we're focusing on the big broadhead test, then our youth bow review. We're going to kick that off, yeah. And
aren't we doing an interview tomorrow?
Yeah, that's right. I'm gonna talk with the guys over at the bow range that we shoot at. I want to talk to them about how they all got started and set up their range and all that. So yeah, the guys over at Compass Outdoors. Going to talk with them. So we get something on that. We'll bring that to you next week also. So
You'll probably hear me shooting in the background.
Yeah, you'll be over there shooting. So, but that's all we got for the week. It's been a good week. Been busy. Had family in town, and got a chance to go do some fishing. Got some bows set up and got some kids shooting. So, all I can say is another successful week for us here. If you guys like to go over to our website, it's upnorthjournal.com. And my buddy that's working on the website over there is doing a fabulous job with that, Tim Ford, who is one of our pro staffers. Matter of fact, we got our pro staff page up, and you haven't set up your bio yet, Michael.
Okay.
You and Kevin Hutchings, our other pro staff guy.
Shame on you, Kevin.
Shame on you, Michael.
I know.
But
I knew you were going to say that.
If you guys want to cruise over there and check out our bio page, you can read a little bit about me, see a picture of me there, which I could care less about if you see me or not. But
I want people to see me.
You don't have a picture up yet.
Yeah, I'll do that tonight.
But there's a picture of Tim, our web guru and our fishing guru. He's going to start doing some stuff on fishing.
And Chuck.
And Chuck Parr, who is going to be our duck master or wing master, I guess, because he's into duck hunting and
waterfowl
goose.
Guru.
Yeah, waterfowl. Thank you for bringing that up, Michael. As a matter of fact, Chuck Parr, our big waterfowl guy, is having an event next week in Holly, Michigan. He is trying to start a Delta waterfowl chapter here in the Tri-County area. So if you guys are interested in that, the event is July 17th. It's a Thursday night. It's a week from this coming Thursday. And if you go to the website, upnorthjournal.com, it's on the front page. All the information you need is right there, directions, the whole 9 yards. So go over and check that out. If you live in this area and you're interested in becoming a member of Delta Waterfowl or helping start a new chapter. So
you're like, okay, thanks for reminding me. I'm like, wait, what?
So, yeah. But Chuck, yeah, he's got his bio up over there. Got a picture of Chuck and all his interests.
Hat.
Yeah, and all his interests and activities. And like I said, Tim's is there. And all his interests and activities and things he's doing. So go over and check it out. So you and Kevin better get your pictures and better get your bios written so everybody can see them.
Okay.
So that's your job. So with that being said, I guess that wraps up another week here for us at the Up North Journal. And if you guys got any questions or emails or anything that you want to see us test or field test, one other thing I do want to mention before I do wrap it up. I got an email this week from a listener, and I can't remember where he's from, but I think I have talked to him once before or emailed him back and forth. But he's a traditional bow hunter. His name's Mike, and he's into traditional archery. And he emailed me in regards to broadhead testing of traditional archery equipment. Or broadheads, and I don't know a lot about that, but I'm hoping he writes me back and starts to fill me in a little bit on that. So for you traditional archers out there, we may have something coming that way. We don't know yet.
Yeah, 2 we can try.
What's that, 2 recurves?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't know, I got to plead ignorance here because I am not a traditional archer, and I don't know anything. I know what a recurve is, I know what a longbow is, but, you go beyond that. I just don't know the terminology behind it, where you get the equipment and all that kind of stuff. So I'm more into the tech side of it, the newer compounds and things like that. So
yeah, me too. So
hopefully if he emails me back, we'll get a little information on that. So we'll see what happens. But if you got any questions on anything like that, anything to do with anything, hunting, fishing, whatever, email us, let us know, and we'll do our best to dig it up and see what we can find out for you. So if you got anything you want to see us do on the youth bows, or any questions, or anything on the broadhead review, let us know, and we'll try to incorporate it or get those questions answered for you. So my email address, michaeladams@upnorthjournal.com, and little Mike's here is at mikey'sgamebag@upnorthjournal.com. So,
Yippers.
All right. So, belated happy 4th of July to everybody.
Hope you didn't blow off your fingers.
Hope you didn't blow your trigger finger off, especially.
Yeah.
And with that being said, we're going to wrap it up here. As we always say here at the Up North Journal, if you're out on the water or out in the woods, shoot straight and be safe. Until next week on the Up North Journal.